Welcome to the Kevin Clancy Show. I've been in this game over a decade, and I knew I needed a place where I could run wild on my own solo podcast, where I tell personal stories, I deep dive into conspiracy theories, we rip through the current events of the day, and we do sit-down conversations with the most interesting people on the internet. Make sure you click subscribe so you don't miss an episode. What's up, you mutts? It's another episode of the Kevin Clancy Show. Before you do anything, before we get into any of it, go get your tickets for KFC Radio Live. What was that? What was up on the screen right there?
I think it was the intro package.
Oh, okay. Before you do anything, we got tickets live for KFC Radio Live. So the pre-sale is now available for Chicago. So all the Chicago chicken heads, people have been asking for years for us to come out and do a live show there. We're going to be at Park West Theater June 18th. It's a Saturday night. It's Saturday, sticky icky icky. So we'll be able to really chop it up and have a good time. So finally, Chicago gets their wish. It's going to be a summer night in June. Ooh! Everybody always is like, oh, summertime shy. It's the greatest city in the world. Well, fucking prove it and go buy your tickets. If you go to the KFC Radio's Twitter or Instagram, you'll see tickets available.
Link is in the top of the bio in the YouTube.
Link in top of the bio in the YouTube. If you're watching along with us right now, the code is KFC to unlock the pre-sale tickets. So let's get into it. We've got, I don't know if you guys saw this, earlier in the week, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the face. Here we are, day 4 or 5, and part of me is like, we got to move on. Part of me just keeps seeing interesting shit, and this is officially, how in the moment everybody knew it was a, internet Hall of Fame moment. This will be talked about on the blogs forever. But when you see the reactions and day after day after day, it still kills the headlines and you're getting everybody to weigh in. That's how you know it's an all-timer. And the latest people to weigh in, we've got O.J. Simpson because we needed O.J. Simpson's take. We've got Kareem Abdul Jabar's because he wrote the most thoughtful piece on the whole situation. We got Jim Carrey weighing in with some scathing words for Big Willie style. So, and then we got Amy Schumer, of course. I'm actually watching Amy Schumer's show, Life and Beth. It's actually a good show. It's a very strange paradox when it's I don't enjoy anything about you except this television show you star in. Kind of wild. So, I guess we'll start with Jim Carrey because the other day, somebody asked me, who is my number one white whale must-have guest? If I could pick, who would it be? And at the time, I didn't have a great answer because there's always – what's crazy is we've been fortunate enough to get a lot of them. All the comics, a lot of the actors. I mean, we've been blessed to talk to some of the cream of the crop. But I when I saw this, I started thinking Jim Carrey might be one of the greatest people to sit down with because I think he's pretty fucking crazy and kind of an asshole, but also obviously super funny, one of the most successful guys ever, doesn't have the smoothest, easiest of lives, very, there's some meat on that bone. There's some interesting shit there, and I feel like Jim Carrey would be a guy if you could sit down and really get him to that's the caveat when people are like, who would you want to interview? I'm like, well, it's got to be someone who would take the time and interest to want to do it. I don't even know if Jim Carrey was on CBS Sunday mornings to promote Sonic the Hedgehog. So that's the kind of level he's on. Jimmy Boy ain't just sitting down on fucking KFC Radio, Can we play the video or no?
What did you
I think we might have some copyright issues if we do, but
okay.
So summarize it.
Yeah, so Jim Carrey kind of went off on Will Smith, which is not. I don't know. I can't get a read because I saw the New York Post put up a poll and it said that the majority of the country sides with Will Smith, which I think is fucking bananas, bonkers. But then you see so many people come out and kind of trash him too. So I can't get a read on where the majority of people fall. But Jim Carrey said that he was sickened by Hollywood giving the standing ovation during his speech. He said that it just shows that, in mass, that they are really like, spineless, and that they're not the cool club anymore. He went on to say that if it was him, he would sue Chris Rock. He would sue Will Smith for $200 million and press charges because he was like, that video is going to live on forever. That joke's going to live on forever. And, like what he did was crazy. And it was, I don't know. I don't know why I thought that was so. It was just, the people are taking it so seriously. That's, I guess, the thing that I take away from it is there are the people who are just having fun with it, and there are the people who are acting like it is this like watershed moment for like humanity and violence and society. It's like, it's just really fucking funny, guys. It was just really fucking crazy. Like, I don't even think Chris Rock really cares anymore. But, to be, what I don't get is I would bet the vast majority of people didn't know that Jada Pinkett had alopecia. I would bet the vast majority of people thought that she just shaves her head because she looks good with it, and I thought that was just her look. And now Will Smith has brought so much attention to it and put the spotlight on her that now everyone's going to be making fun of Jada Pinkett's bald head and her alopecia. And everyone's going to be looking at it like, are those fake eyelashes? Are those fake eyebrows? Where's your hair? Like, it's almost, it's like deleting a tweet, a bad tweet. Well, guess what? Screenshots live forever, and now you've made it 100 times worse by trying to run from it. Will Smith putting the spotlight on this, it's like if you're going to defend your girl, well, you just probably made her life 150,000 times harder by all the alopecia jokes that are now going to be made about your bald-headed woman. So Jim Carrey being like, I would sue you for $200 million because, because what? Because what? Like, fucking what? What, you got to have some damages, right? If anything, Chris Rock is living. For the conspiracy theory people out there, I mean, I think you're still a stone-cold idiot if you're still trying to say this was fake. But Chris Rock, his tickets are flying now. He was doing a theater tour, like a large theater tour, that I don't think was selling all that well. And now tickets are obviously moving.
Tonight's his first show
at the Wilbur, right?
Yeah, at the Wilbur. So.
Well, we kept it warm for you, Chris. Tell us, tell us how far you can throw your shoe at the Wilbur, because that's the kind of shit that we did on stage at the Wilbur. But we heard that tickets went from like $90 to like $500. Yep. So, and that's probably mostly just, I think that's secondary market, so it's not really like him. But I'm sure whatever tickets were left are a different price, and now everything else is flying. And, so he's probably like, fuck yeah. Like, if I could get, if I could trade spots with Chris Rock right now, 1,000,000%, man. My dream every day is to have something like violent but not horrifically painful happen to me in a public light. I dream of getting hit by a New York City cab where I can sue and make zillions and have like a headline news lawsuit where it's like, I just broke a leg or broke an arm, I'm not going to die or anything, and now I can cash in on the city. Like, if I could go to some event and have like a maniac attack me, and I go, yeah, fuck yeah, sign me up, man. I'd love to be the guy that gets slapped in the fucking face. Which is, I don't know. There's still just like the macho people of the world out there who are really, I don't know. I think that shit is so fucking played out, that alpha shit. Like, of all people, Will Smith being like, I have to defend my woman.
That's the point I was gonna.
Wouldn't you think that of all people, he would be the one being like, my girl can fight her fights on her own. She doesn't need me.
So I'm gonna take you back. Probably like 3-4 years ago. You remember when Facebook launched their whole Facebook Watch or whatever the hell it was, and they had the whole special with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith on it.
Right.
They pretty much. I mean, he just admitted she just admitted on cheating with what's his name, that musician, August
whoever, yeah.
On that thing. When did he start caring about
I just I'll never understand that, man. It's just crazy that this was the breaking point. And that's right, to go, if you can go deeper into it, and I don't want to because we've been doing it forever this week, but I don't think that was about just the slap. I think that it's like everything boiling up in Will Smith. But of all Hollywood couples, this like progressive, open marriage, equal partnership, Scientology, megastars. We both are the breadwinners. We both are the leaders. This idea that like your man needs to stand up for you and defend you, and that's what the article that Kareem Abdul Jabaar wrote, which is, I know Kareem is he's in the content game a little bit, it still is just funny to me. People being like, "Did you read Kareem's article?" My kid's mom sent it to me this morning and was like, "Check this out. He nailed it." I was like, "What are you doing reading Kareem Abdul Jabaar articles?" But she said it was all over the headlines yesterday. And he just said that Will Smith did a bad thing. That was the headline. He wrote it on Substack. Substack is kind of like a Patreon for writers. And he talked about how he said slapping Chris Rock was a blow to women, men, the entertainment industry, and the black community. And he just went like paragraph by paragraph, chunk by chunk, and argued why it's, you basically reinforce this idea that women need men to defend them, and that women can't handle words or criticism. And then he talked about, I believe it was black on black violence and not respecting each other, not respecting women. Hollywood, he said Smith's violence is an implied threat to all comedians who have to be edgy. And that's where I got to draw the line. The comedian reaction, I love these comics, man. We have made our career here at KFC Radio being like, we're the comedy podcast. I've said it time and time again. I believe outside of Joe Rogan, you get the most and best comedian guests on a podcast on KFC Radio. I mean, we get, shout out to Kelly Martin and Jordan and the booking team and all the comics who we're friends with who come through. I think we talk to like the cream of the crop. And I think they're the funniest people. I think they're the most talented people. I think their specials and podcasts are all amazing. But man, have we gotten a little too serious in the comic community at this point, where everything is always this overreaction about, freedom of speech or the emotional, psychological, mental side of comedy and all this shit where it's like we're all just supposed to be clowns making the people laugh. I mean, Amy Schumer said that she was traumatized by this. Let me get the exact post up. She posted and I think part of the post was joking, but then there was also like the direct words there of traumatized. She said, "I think we can all agree that the best way to unpack what happened is to go stream my new series Life and Beth," which is the show I was talking about. So she, used it as a plug, whatever. But then she says, "But for real, I'm still triggered and traumatized." And so I think this is another example of comedians being like, what if it happens to me? What if I get punched in the face because I tell a joke? And Feidelberg said it best yesterday on KC Radio. He's like, "Yo, Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars is a little bit different than you at the Chuckle Hut telling jokes to, fat slobs." So, I don't think you have to worry about that. But it also highlights, I think, one of the major problems that we see these days on social media and in cancel culture and in the arguing on social media. The problem is everybody and their little buzzword vocabulary. Everybody reads up on a Wikipedia article about mental health or psychology and psychiatry and relationships and all this shit, and they pick up on certain words. Words like triggered, words like gaslighting, words like narcissist, and in this case, traumatized. And I think we kind of forget what those words really mean or use them like in a completely incorrect way. Like, you're telling me that Amy Schumer right now believes she's traumatized? Like, to me, traumatized used to mean, as a child, you like witnessed someone get fucking murdered, and now you are, mentally, subconsciously traumatized, and you become a serial killer yourself because you witnessed something at a young age that you couldn't process, and your brain broke because of the trauma. I think of traumatized as, generational abuse that's like bred into you and your DNA, and you've watched something, seen something,
slavery.
Yeah, that's trauma, bro. So your generations, your family being enslaved creates trauma, and you're traumatized. watching life and death go down in front of your face, being abused, being exposed to war, that's trauma, okay? And so you start throwing around traumatized because somebody slapped somebody else. I mean, I said in the very beginning of this, the reason why it was so fun was because it's ultimately harmless. There are so many times as a blogger, we like to, there are stories or people you want to you got jokes to get off, but you realize that tragically somebody died or got really injured or there's a child involved or cancer or something. When Dave made the joke about the guy raw dogging the hot dog that one time, it's like 10 years ago. Let me tell you a dicey game, a little sidebar here as an OG blogger. Dicey game is making fun of people in the crowd of sporting events. That was our bread and butter. That is our bread and butter, where we literally roll up to the screen, take a picture of the TV screen with our cell phone, and then we post on the blog, making fun of or highlighting somebody in the crowd because there's some real creatures that go out to professional sporting events. And one time there was this kid who just had a hot dog, no bun, and was just, boom, chugging them down, just deep throating these dogs. And Dave posted it being like, look at him raw dogging this thing. And it turned out, I think he was autistic or something unfortunate, and there was no way to tell. And Dave, I think he got emailed and taken down, and he was like, oh my God. And that's kind of the dicey game we play. This past weekend, I was watching the Elite Eight with my mom, watching the Duke game. I wish I could put the picture up, but I don't think we can risk it. At one point, they show the crowd. I pause it. I get up. I take a picture of this kid. I sit back down. My mom goes, what are you doing? Why are you taking a picture of that boy? And I go, what do you mean? To make fun of him. She goes, you're gonna make fun of that mentally handicapped boy? And I was like, he's not mentally handicapped. She's like, absolutely, that kid is. And we're in the privacy of our own home, so we're throwing around our words and whatnot. And I'm like, no, he's not, Ma. He was this kid. He had a Duke jersey on. He had bleached blonde hair, but underneath it was still black hair. And he just was missing a few teeth because he was like a young kid, and he was clapping. Kind of has mouth open. And I was like, no, he's not. And I was going to post it and be like, this is the next generation of Duke fans that I hate. And my mom was like, do not do that. You're going to get in trouble. And I ultimately didn't, because if I did post somebody who was mentally deficient and I was like, fuck this kid, I'm going to hate him, she's probably right. I'd be in a lot of trouble. But we kind of had an argument over that. And maybe I'll show you guys off camera. We can debate whether or not she was right or I was right. But it's a dicey game that you play when you are making fun of people that you can't tell and don't know, and that's obviously what happened here with Chris Rock.
Is that something we can throw on the KFC Radio Twitter community, or are we pushing it far too quick?
I want you guys to look. I'll text it to you.
Go follow the KFC Radio Twitter community.
Well, yeah, so we do have a new Twitter community. If you're not familiar with those, it's basically like a subreddit on Twitter. So you join this community, meaning you follow the way you used to follow a fan page on Facebook, and that way you can just switch over to new tabs and you get all the information you need about individual things. Let me text. I'll text it to Nick and Za, and you guys make the
Yeah, based off your description, I mean, this might be a spicy one.
I'm just saying, dude. It's. I don't think so, dude. Because I don't think you would. A kid with a bowl cut and frosted hair like that. He's not making that decision.
Before I look at it, the more you describe it, it's not.
Just take a look. Put your camera on your faces so people can see your reaction. Is this kid just a goofy-looking kid, or is there something wrong?
It's coming in.
Did it go through?
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's not a...
Because that hairstyle does seem like
that's something like a little
like TikTok.
Yeah,
kind of.
And I gotta
see more than a still. Yeah, that's what it is.
Gotta see it in motion.
It's a still.
You know what though? Cover his mouth, because I think he just got caught in an awkward moment. I don't think he is. But
It's tough.
the general rule is, if a bunch of people are like, I don't know, it's probably better to play it safe. You know?
the whole kid angle too.
Yes,
There's two things
of
going
course,
on over
right.
there.
I don't want to be making fun of a 12-year-old like mentally handicapped kid, but he's a Duke fan. Also, let's keep that in mind. Fuck Duke. Shout out to our super fan Mario. He's been running the page on Twitter this day in Barstool, and he tweeted out a clip a couple years ago of me on CCK where I was explaining real quickly. There are two people in this world. There are fans of Duke and Duke haters, and that's it. There's no fucking in-between where you're just kind of like, oh, I kind of like Duke. They're all right. I think Coach K is cool, but I don't really root for them. No. It's one or the fucking other. So I was going to try to make fun of a Duke fan, regardless of what his mental capabilities are or are not. But anyway, I don't even know how we got here because I think I was just trying to explain that, you don't know what it's a dangerous game you can play. Oh, but it's just nice when there's really no harm, no foul. It's a ball joke and a face slap. It wasn't a joke about, a kid dying, and it wasn't that he brutally assaulted him. So it's a beautiful thing for a blogger. We usually have to worry about that stuff. In this case, we didn't. And that's, I would hope, 99% of the people who are normal. But it's the rest of the people who are crying over alopecia and saying that they're traumatized. And that's what I just can't. I hate every fucking buddy who has learned dumb catchphrases and love to throw them out. You're not being gaslit. He's not gaslighting you. He's bringing up something that he genuinely thinks is fucking crazy that you do. He's not, when girls complain about guys gaslighting them, you think that most guys, the average dude, is concocting a long con scheme where he's going to day by day and week by week make up little things about you to break you down mentally and build you back up into his ideal woman like you're Jason fucking Bourne. You really think that's what most guys are doing with gaslighting? Or is it that they are maybe a little insensitive and don't see things the same way you see them and think that you're weird for some of your behavior? Because all I know is that 99% of the time, girls are complaining that guys don't talk enough and aren't emotional enough and don't go to therapy and aren't in touch with this or that. But now you're telling us that we're emotional masterminds, puppet masters? Get the fuck out of here. It's not gaslighting. It's just that guys think that sometimes the shit you do is pretty fucking crazy. And I guess crazy is another one of those words where it's no, I don't think you need to go to the loony bin. I think that you're kind of annoying. That's what crazy really means. You're being kind of annoying with this bullshit. So they learn a word like gaslight. Then they learn a word like narcissist. I love people. People tell me this all the time. You're suffering from narcissistic personality disorder because all you're doing is talking about yourself. Well, in this fucking job that I'm in, I'm giving my takes, and we are arguing about our opinions. So I'm going to tell you what I think and what I like and what I don't like because that's what we fucking do here.
I always love that one. It's like, I'm following you on Twitter and you're giving me your thoughts. How fucking dare you?
Right. And then when to bring it back to the relationships, when people are when you are in a relationship and you're fighting over something, it's their viewpoint or opinion or feelings or thoughts versus yours. So when you're talking about it and you're saying I and me and you're thinking, you're explaining how you do things, it's you're so narcissistic. It's there's only two people in this relationship. And sure, yeah, I understand the point. You got to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You got to view things from their point. But it's it's not narcissism. It's just that I'm explaining my fucking feelings to you. But they learn those words. And now in this case, it's traumatized. You're not traumatized, Amy Schumer. She's probably out right now getting her fucking nails done, going out to dinner, promoting her new show. She's probably living a grand life that literally.
There's already a rumor about this that she's just kind of leaning into it already because she apparently made some joke. It wasn't good either. It was just about Kirsten Dunst being a seat filler, and everyone's like, "What the fuck is that about?"
So I saw that too. Now that's crazy. I saw that. I read in the same article that Amy Schumer had to come out and defend herself over this joke, which is, again, lunacy. She did a completely pre-planned, scripted, written bit where she walks over to Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst, You know her. She's in Spider-Man. Jesse Plemons, Friday Night Lights, and Breaking Bad, and everything else under the sun. They were both nominated for an Oscar that night. And the joke was that she called Kirsten Dunst a seat filler. And she was like, oh, look at this seat filler. Get up, babe. I got to sit down here. And Jesse Plemons says, that's my wife. And she goes, oh, you mean you're married to a seat filler? That's weird. And a bunch of people on Twitter being like, who is Amy Schumer to call Kirsten Dunst a seat filler? We don't even know who Amy Schumer is. We haven't seen her since 2010. But Kirsten Dunst is a seat filler. It was like a blatantly obvious scripted bit poking fun at, tongue-in-cheek, saying that this super mega famous person that everybody knows is a nobody. And she had to clarify that. I mean, it's just crazy. And I hate to then take the bait and be the same as the comedians who are like crying about, the cross that they bear. But it's pretty fucking nuts when you've got to explain a very basic, very harmless joke. And it's pretty fucking nuts when people are throwing around the word traumatized for a little slap to the face. And it's pretty fucking nuts when we're talking about even Kareem. I think a lot of what Kareem Abdul Jabaar was saying was true, but we're talking about like how deeply this can affect the black community, how deeply it affects the entertainment industry. Like, it was a crazy, wild thing that happened. And everybody's got headlines, and people are riding the publicity. No such thing as bad publicity. It's great for Chris Rock. It's not so great for Will Smith, but I'm sure he'll turn it into a positive. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about 3 fucking extremely rich, super lucky people who are living in like the top 1% of lifestyle. And yeah, there's clearly some fucked up shit going on. And yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of trauma in Will Smith's life involving his toxic ass marriage. That might all be true, but there ain't no trauma coming out of the goddamn slap. So take it for what it is. We're selling t-shirts. We're making 1 Minute Mans. Jackie slapped me in the fucking face yesterday. We had a grand old time with that. Will I ever bring back Commenter of the Week, Alex? No. I haven't looked at a comment in like 10 years. There was a time in I would say 2009. That's when I started. And I guess even before that, because prior to starting, I was a fan. So I would say like 2007 was when I started reading. I would say from 2007 to 2012, let's say. Comments were funny. There was this community of commenters, and I use the word funny loosely. I'm not saying these guys were stand-up comedians. I'm not saying they had brilliant jokes. But I remember there was this crew of guys. One was called Steak and Shake, and one was called like something about balls. And there was one guy whose name was Heated 76, and he had this running joke about his battering ram right hand. And he would just leave comments about how he was going to punch you with his battering ram right hand. And they had these running little gags, and they were all like middle-aged, older guys who, come to think of it now, are probably like almost 60 years old, which is crazy. Because a lot of these guys were like 40, 45, 50, 55 years old. And I do remember, no matter like what the blog was about, the comment section in the early days of Barstool would undoubtedly be a bunch of guys commiserating about their miserable marriages together. And I thought it was just the funniest fucking thing in the world. And I guess you could call that foreshadowing in the industry. But I could not get enough. It was just these guys who I just got such a kick at. What is this? The reason I asked is because I was commenting of the week from I Am Tough in June 2014. I vaguely remember I Am Tough. And so, yeah, I said 2012. Maybe it trickled all the way to 2014 because at one point I tried to do a bit that was commenter of the week. It was just a cheap like attempt to get clicks. But the powwow that would go on with grown men in the comments of like a 25-year-old kid's blog just being like, God damn it, I hate my wife and I can't stand going home to my family. And I just always was like, it was just hilarious to me that there are people who just willingly chose this relationship and this life that they absolutely hate. And that was this time where the commenters were almost like, it was like pros versus Joes or some shit, where it was like, we're the bloggers, they're the commenters, but we almost like knew them and interacted with them. And then once we got even a fraction too big, forget about pen money, even before churning money, even before Dave was just individually rich, when it was just like guys fucking around, there was something with the comments that was there's a little magic there. And then it just got too toxic and too racist, and they would go after people and they would go after us. And I mean, as somebody who's always gotten internet hate, like I just personally couldn't take it anymore because it was wearing me down. And then just the way the site, you know, we've moved away from the written blog into podcasts and audio. Just the comments are just, I mean, the comments could disappear right now and nothing. My favorite was when commenters used to say, people only come to Barstool for the comments. Didn't even read the blog, just scrolled right to the comments. And I'm like looking at the stats when it's quite literally like 0.001% of people even open the comments, let alone register and have a name. But the people who did do it, you know what? It's really just social media. It's like a vocal minority. Where there's a very small but loud group of people, the same way that you'll be like, people are saying on Twitter that so-and-so needs to get canceled, and then you look and it's like 10 people who probably all have 3 accounts each, and it's like 30 tweets total. That's what the comment section were, because you'd have guys who would have like 10 different names, and they would all, you know, say the same jokes. It was just, no. The commenting era is dead and in the dirt.
You remember the carnage when we launched Barstool Gold?
Yeah,
That
so
was funny.
Barstool Gold, you had to pay for the premium package to then be a commenter,
Yeah.
and people went berserk over that, as if they weren't pulling out their fucking credit card immediately to pay because they need to see every single thing that Barstool, you know, people do. I still stand by Barstool Gold in a way. I don't think it was done right. I think that was basically something that at the time I want to say Chernin was more interested in than Barstool was. So it was kind of like, we have to do this because the bosses said so. But
we had no plan.
we had no plan.
We literally
But if
launched
you
it
look,
and we're like, all right, what do we put behind there?
if you look at what transpired, like a matter of just a couple years after Barstool Gold, we're now in the Patreon era and the Substack era and the NFTs era, where there's been this revolution of people willingly paying for content. When we did it, we were a little too early, where people were like, we get all of our content for free. Why would we pay for it? But now people do pay for it. The difference is when you pay for a comedian's Patreon, take Are You Garbage, for example, our boys Kevin Foley, they were like starting something. You were like in at the grassroots like revolution where this franchise was budding, and you could be a part of it and you could help it, and it's almost like a donation. It's like, yeah, you get some extra content, but you're really donating to the cause for 2 guys that you think are funny, that you believe in, that you want to see succeed. When you are paying for Barstool, you're not donating to the little guy. This is a multi-million-dollar, tens of millions of dollars, at that point maybe $100 million company. You know, it's not like we're hurting and we need it. But that being said, when you look at what you got when you signed up for it, you know, you sign up for a comedian's Patreon right now, you get like 1 extra episode a week. Barstool Gold, you got everything from KC Radio, everything from PMT, merch, tickets, tours, all that shit for the same or less money.
Fucking tours.
The tours were for the real hardcore fans. Shout out to anybody who ever did a tour.
Remember when Fitzsimmons?
Brian Fitzsimmons killed those tours.
Bro, if you guys
Fucking
don't know
king.
Brian Fitzsimmons, can we put up a picture of Fitz? He is
I
just
love that guy.
he is the man. If you don't like Brian Fitzsimmons, the problem is with you. He is one of the nicest guys in the world. He is can we enhance that? And that's about the most gangster picture you'll ever see of Fitz, with the hoodie on. You know what I mean? Usually it's like business casual. I feel like he's the only guy left who like still dresses up sometimes, and he just helps with everything. Always has a smile on his face, always tweeting positive things at us. And he used to run the tours for Barstool Gold. And I bet you, I saw him walking around, but I bet if you could be a fly on the wall, I bet you he had a whole routine.
He absolutely did.
He had
used
jokes
to come
and
around,
references.
I would be in the studio, and he had stories he was
Yep.
telling. He would walk by. He always said the same things about all the producers.
Absolutely.
And shit like that. It was like he would come by, and some days he would be like, trying to get us to interact with them, and some days we'd just be like, dude, Brian, I can't.
Just-
I had
Fuck it,
to. I had
yeah.
to make a whole spiel because I'm always in here, and this was his first stop. I had
Uh-huh.
to make a whole spiel for his tour that I gave when they came in and all that. What a legend!
He is. He's a fucking legend, man. But that all that stuff, I think it was a greater value. And I did KFC Radio Premium way back in the day. It was $1 a month, but we had like a few thousand people who signed up for that. And at the time, a few $1,000s a month was like a big deal. That allowed us to buy all of our equipment. That allowed us to book studio time. We basically reinvested all of the money. I don't think we ever really took any profits. But, we were ahead of the curve on the idea of paying for extra content. We just didn't execute it well. But if you look at where the industry's gone, it's certainly not that foreign of a concept anymore, where you keep all your regular content still free and you just get the new shit on top of it. But there's something, people are always going to complain about something, right? And I saw the outrage today comes from Eric Church fans. You know Eric Church? Country guy, I
No.
guess.
Oh yeah, the guy that canceled. Okay, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
What? Give me like one of his main songs.
I think Tennessee whiskey. No, not Tennessee whiskey. Fuck. I used to know a lot of his shit.
But it's like he's like big, right?
Yeah, he's very big. He's got some really good songs.
Are we talking like arenas? He's selling out like arenas. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey Jackie, could you give me water? So Eric Church is a diehard Tar Heels fan. Huge UNC guy. I guess he's either from North Carolina or, for whatever reason, is just a diehard North Carolina fan. And obviously this weekend,
He's both.
He's both?
From North Carolina, and I believe he
went there.
might have even gone there.
Because you never know with singers, they might like go and drop out or.
Oh no, I lied. He's just from North Carolina.
Okay, but thank you. Cold too. So Eric Church, North Carolina guy, has a show this week, Saturday night, sold out. But this weekend is the Final Four, and it is Duke versus Carolina, inarguably the biggest college basketball game of all time.
It hasn't happened like at this later stage in a while, right?
Dude,
or ever.
They have never played in the tournament. I was stunned.
Really?
UNC and Duke have never played in the NCAA
So
tournament.
how is it like the most storied rivalry in sports?
Because they just play. Well, they always play in the ACC tournament together. So like they do. They always
okay.
match up in the the tournaments, the conference tournaments before the big tournament.
Gotcha.
And I think they're just like down the road from each other, and they're the two big Carolina programs. And
Zach and
everybody
Katie
from Duke.
Stats, legitimately, one of them is going to kill the other at the end of this game. It's
I mean-
just
I
there's
mean-
going to be a murder. Might be just like a little
but-
1 and 2.
By the way, money on Katie Stats. I think she would demolish Zach. I think it would be another fucking slap to the face.
He'd be
That's
donezo.
Katie will work your shit, Zach.
Clip that one, Zach.
So it is. We tried to throw out some other Magic versus Bird back in like I think it was 1979 maybe when they played. The Leitner game with that big shot was a big Duke one. There's a lot of storied games, but Duke Carolina is one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports. Certainly the biggest in college basketball. First time they're ever playing. It's at the Final Four to go to the championship, and it's Coach K's last season. And UNC just beat them in what was Coach K's final home game at Duke. So there's long-term history, short-term history. Everything's on the line. It is the biggest college basketball game of all time. And he is a diehard Tar Heels fan. So my dude canceled the show and said, I'm going to the basketball game instead.
Just fired off a tweet, right?
I respect the fuck.
I
out of that.
respect the fuck. I think he released a statement.
Gotcha.
But I'm sure. Let's see. I know I read something that was like it was a very kind of like honest attempt. He said, as a lifelong Carolina basketball fan, I've watched Carolina and Duke battle over the years, but to have the matchup in the Final Four for the first time in the history of the NCAA tournament is any sports enthusiast's dream. This is also the most selfish thing I've ever done. This is the most selfish thing I've ever asked the choir to do. That's what they call themselves, the fans. They call themselves the choir. To give up your Saturday night plans with us so that I can have this moment with my family and sports community. However, it's the same type of passion felt by the people who fill our seats at our concerts that make us want to be a part of the crowd at a game of this significance. And the comments are obviously not great. Eric Church cancels a San Antonio gig for a basketball game, and we're supposed to be cool with it. Get a DVR and go watch that. Imagine trying to be like fucking Seinfeld back in the day, DVR or recording the Mets games. I've made numerous out-of-town trips to see him. Mixed feelings. I appreciate his passion for the team, but not going to lie, I'm pretty mad. Dude didn't even reschedule. Just canceled it. That's a little crazy to just be like, nuts. See you later.
That is how many thousands of dollars that he could rake in from that. And then just like,
bro,
nah.
No, I mean, it goes so much beyond that. It said he has not addressed it on social media.
What was the venue that he canceled?
Let's see.
That matters. If
the
it's
AT&T Center,
San Antonio. Yep,
bro.
San Antonio.
AT&T Center capacity is 19,000 people. Probably a sellout. You're talking big dollars that he was just like, you know what? I'd rather watch hoops. And that, to me, let's say it's a $50 ticket. We're talking about $1 million. He just turned down $1 million night revenue. You know, you got to pay probably like hundreds of thousands of dollars to. He probably walks away with like $500,000. I don't know where I fall. I mean, I know where I fall. Ultimately, this is history. Ultimately, you've got to live your life. This dude has given up probably so much to be on tour, always away from his family and always grinding. And yes, you can tell me he made millions of dollars and probably fucked tons of groupies and met millions of people and had amazing opportunities. And so, yeah, no one's crying for Eric Church. But that doesn't mean that he didn't, go through a grind and didn't go through a lot and doesn't have, a lot of things that he's missed over the years because of work. And I applaud people who put their foot down. Like when somebody cancels because of like they had a breakdown, it's like, you know what? Maybe if you missed a show here and there for yourself, you wouldn't have a mental breakdown and need to cancel an entire international tour. Maybe if every now and then, you pulled it back a little bit. And now that what would be smarter is just like don't schedule as many dates and manage your workload. But how are you supposed to know when the Final Four is going to happen? And to me, it's like if you're a diehard fan of that guy and you call yourself a member of the choir, I feel like you got to be like, well, that's our dude, and this is so important to him, so I understand. What's tough is when you hear about people, like I saw some tweets where like, me and my husband flew in from out of town. We got a hotel for the weekend for this. Like there are people probably blowing their paycheck on your tickets and this is their one like annual thing that they do because they're still putting food on the table and paying bills otherwise. And you're just like, sorry, bro, I'm going to the basketball game. I clearly see both sides of it. I would probably be, if I was myself, like, pseudo in the industry of like performing and shit, because I get it where it's like there would be times I'd love to be like, you know what, I just don't want to do this second show at the Wilbur. We're canceling it because I just don't want to fucking do it. And I never would, and we never do that. But I totally understand the urge to when you are, especially when there's something like a Duke Carolina Final Four game. On the other hand, just being like, I want to watch my basketball game is pretty fucking nuts. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether your eyeballs were on it or not,
I mean, we said it earlier. We're Duke haters here, so
yeah, fuck that.
We're Team Eric Church. He's got to root for UNC.
Yeah, if you're a Tar Heel guy, I'm down for whatever you want to do, man. I'll ride with you. But I'm trying to put myself in that spot.
Does it even fall on him?
Yeah. No, what do you mean?
Like the insurance and stuff like that?
Well, that's what I was going to say is on top of it, like you're not just like, oh, the fans are disappointed. That's probably like we had like union deals with the workers and the crew and the set and the this and the that. It's probably so much money. That's why I can't even imagine like when Demi Lovato went through her shit, when Bieber had his meltdown. Like there are times where we do one show per month. Shout out to Chicago. I already told you. Go get tickets. Go to the KFC Radio social media. Pre-sale for KFC Radio Live, June 18th in Chicago at the Park West Theater. Pre-sale code is KFC. On sale now. We do one ticket a month. One show a month. And there are times where I feel like fuck, we gotta, like, even that schedule of like a couple weeks go by, I'm like, oh shit, it's time to do another live show. And I think to myself, what if I had to cancel? What if I had a breakdown and I was too fed up and I just wanted to get away? And I'm like, I can't do that because I have one Philly show, one Nashville show, and one Chicago show coming up in the next 3 months. I can't cancel those. I can't imagine the balls it takes to be like the whole international tour. Pff, forget about it. Refund the tickets, get rid of the set and the people, like all of it. I don't care. I'm not doing it. That is, it's admirable, really, because it's like the people who end up killing themselves or going to a hospital or truly breaking down, I think are the people who put their head down and just power through it. But like the fact that it reaches a point where you're like, we had about 275 dates in 50 different countries, and I'm just gonna say fuck it. Can't imagine pulling that trigger. Eric Church, it's one night, and he wants to watch a basketball game. And at the end of the day, I think people should be able to, it's just like, I know it's special to you, but it's just work to him. And it's like, you're not, is he just never allowed to cancel anything ever again?
I bet there's union rules against it, but he should just switch this to a day concert, like a day concert, country concert, like everyone getting fucked up, like,
and then roll into the game.
Yeah, and then roll into that. That's so much fun.
I don't know why, but also maybe he's just like, no, I don't want to do that either. I want to like be with my family at like a pregame event and then like I don't know.
San Antonio to North Carolina on flight sim
not
takes
even
about
dude,
an hour and a half.
Fucking New Orleans. It's like right next
shorter.
door.
Yeah.
So I do believe there's probably a middle ground that you could get to. And also, I don't know how this totally works, but we kind of ran into this a little bit. We, on a fucking minuscule scale, our show in Boston was the same night as the NCAA tournament, and we sold out the first night, the first show of the night. But when we were taking the stage, there was chunks of empty seats. And I was like, what the fuck's that about? And they said people refunded their ticket because we're assuming of March Madness. Like there was a guy, I think I mentioned this last time. There was the house like manager was like, March Madness, kid. People lose their bets. They're down on their luck. They want their money back. They refund the ticket. So we had about like 100 people who refunded the ticket at the last minute. I think you have to buy ticket insurance, though. To me, if I ever bought a ticket and something got canceled or something popped up, I would be like, I'm just eating the cost of that. I don't get my money back for that. Apparently, you can buy insurance and refund tickets. So there's ways around it. At the end of the day, I feel like Eric Church should kind of, like if you do this all the time, if you're Lauryn Hill, if you're DMX, rest in peace, people who notoriously don't show up or show up late or cancel at the last minute, then you become an asshole. The fact that he was honest about it, because what would have been funny is if he was like, I have an emergency, I have a problem, and then you saw him like in New Orleans watching the game. That would have been awesome. Be like, yeah, man, there was a fucking emergency in my family. It was Duke playing North Carolina, motherfuckers. That's an emergency in the church house. Let's go to some of the calls here. What is it? 888-STOOL-22. You can see the number up there on the top. If you are a moron and don't know how to dial letters with numbers, just press your call button and Za will come back there and hit you in the head with a tack hammer because you are an idiot. 888-STOOL-22. Call us up. We will begin with Nolan. What's up, Nolan? Nolan, what do you got, bud?
Hey, man. Yeah, so I'm a big Eric Church guy. And I'm just going to come to his defense real quick. Like, dude goes harder for his fans than anybody I've ever seen. He did this one tour last year, or not last year, right before COVID, I guess. It was like 60 shows in 60 different cities in 60 nights, and he finished that tour and had to go to the hospital because he had like
dehydration and exhaustion and all that shit, right?
Yeah, so something just knocked him on his ass by the end of it. And I mean, I've driven to shows a few hours away and stayed at a hotel or whatever, and like, I get people are going to go out of town, but if he is canceling it because he cares so much about going to this basketball game, like, dude isn't. I don't know if he's ever canceled a show in general.
I was gonna say this is probably the only time he's ever done it. He's explaining why. Yeah. It's probably the only time he will do it. And put it this way, like, if you're a diehard Eric Church fan who's bending over backwards to go to his game, to go to his show, isn't there some part of you that can understand the level of fandom that he has for his team? It's like you're willing to blow a paycheck and travel all this way, and he's willing to, like, turn down. What if the headline doesn't read Eric Church cancels show to see Duke UNC? What if the headline is Eric Church gives up $1 million night to see Duke UNC? Because he's making a sacrifice on his end too. So
hell yeah, he is.
Yeah, so I feel like if you look at it that way and kind of can level with him, it makes a lot more sense. It's a good point, Nolan. And I think that, these guys and girls, like, never cancel. And when they do, I bet you everyone else can understand that it's just the people that bought tickets to San Antonio that night. And that's where, those people are going to fucking hate you probably. You probably lost about 10,000 of those 19,000 fans who are going to be mad at you for a little while. But, fuck off. What can you do? That's not always going to go in your favor. Let's go to Jason from Massachusetts. Back to Will Smith. What up, Jay? Jason. Is that us? Or
Jason, are you there? I think he should be on. Let's try another one.
Let's go to London from Boston. What up, London?
Hey, Kevin. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. How are you?
Not too bad. I want to talk to you about the Will Smith and Chris Rock situation. I got an opinion on this.
Okay.
So, I think a lot of people aren't thinking about how intent was played on that joke, right? Like,
it was just a bald joke.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it wasn't like, oh, you have a medical condition, like, I'm going to make fun of you for that. Like, It wasn't like a kind of joke. What's that?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Is he was it's a hack joke, to be honest. I bet you if you asked Chris Rock, he'd be like, that joke sucks. It was just like a little bit of crowd work where I on the spot. That's what you do as like a comic. You look at the crowd, you look at what they look like, what they're wearing, what size they are, who they're with, and you come up with a joke on the spot. He saw a bald girl. He made a G.I. Jane joke. What year did G.I. Jane come out? It's probably like 1997. It's probably like a 30-year-old movie that, the younger generation probably has no fucking clue even what it is. It was just a joke about a bald girl, not like, LOL, you've got alopecia, bitch.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what – it was basically like a knock-knock joke almost.
Yeah.
That's how hacky it was. And I think, like just people don't take intent into play, like when
Ever.
They're hearing a comedian or something, like you were saying earlier about, like, you hear gaslighting or narcissism, it just sets off that trigger in your head and people just get all up in arms and pissed off about it.
Absolutely, man. And I firmly believe, I'm on London's side, thanks for the call, intent and context always matter. And when they did it with Rogan, and they do it with jokes, they do it with slurs, they do it with any sort of words that are on the no-fly list. I still believe that if you I just avoid any of that shit because I don't want the hassle. But if somehow you do get caught up in the fire for that, I believe it absolutely always matters what your intent is and what your context is. If Chris Rock was at the doctor's office with Jada Pinkett, and the doctor came out and said, you've got alopecia, and he turned around and said, you should be in G.I. Jane too, bitch, then that's an asshole move. He didn't know it. Nobody knew it. She's been that way forever. Actually, let me give a shout out to Tom Segura. Did you guys see his tweets? You see those, Nick?
Oh, yeah.
The water champ, the dunk champ, Mr. Ladybug, went hard at Jada Pinkett. And I'm so happy we have a bomb squad week, by the way. We had Bert last week. We've got Chrissy D in today. Chris DiStefano will be on KFC Radio. Tomorrow's Tom Segura. So the biggest week of the year with the biggest story of the decade, we've got two of the funniest guys in the business, Chris DiStefano and Tom Segura, in because, like I said, second best podcast out there when it comes to showcasing the comics. But Tom Segura is basically as untouchable as they come now. And he goes, this was my favorite one, a 4-picture tweet with different years and different events of Jada Pinkett. And he goes, this bitch been bald. Jokes about it are fine. It was tame as fuck. You super sensitive about it? Buy a fucking wig. I mean, that's about as hard as you can go. Somebody said white comedians jumping. Let me go to the very beginning. The Academy says we don't condone violence of any form. He says, LOL, you fully endorsed it. Fuck Will Smith. Then he said, fuck Will Smith's candy ass smacking a dude 4 inches shorter and 50 pounds lighter. He's just in his feelings because his bald-headed bitch been fucking around on him for years and he takes it. We all know who he wishes he could really slap. Hashtag cuck Will. And then someone said a white man should not be speaking on this. He said, chupa mi la pinga, because Tom's a white guy. Let's be honest, Tom's a white guy. But he's Tom Segura. I think his family's from South America. He can speak Spanish. He's not technically white. And then white comedians jumping out heavy with the racism. He says, where's the racism? This is about a comedian and a bitch. Then he said this bitch bit and bald. He goes on, let's see. Lots of sensitive folks in my mentions. I'd like to remind you to all suck my dick. It's a little sensitive too. Here's what people might not realize about Tom Segura yet. I think besides Joe Rogan, what are you looking at, Nick? Is that our girl Emma? Yeah. She was on Out and About. Make sure you check out the Out and About pod with Joey and Pat, because they've got Emma Willman on, who is one of the funniest comics out there. I don't think people realize just how powerful and important Tom Segura is. I feel like everybody talks about Joe Rogan and how Rogan runs the podcast industry and runs entertainment and all that shit. The way that Two Bears, One Cave is growing, which is what Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer's show is, the rate at which it's growing and the size that it's already grown to, with the talent that Tom has, I think he's second to Joe Rogan. But with the X factor being, he didn't sign a deal with Spotify. He doesn't have a parent company. He doesn't do any of that shit. He makes all of his money on his own. Makes a fuck ton of it, by the way. It's like everybody knows Rogan's deal for $100 million. So everyone's like, he's the richest. I bet you if you look at some of the money that Tom Segura is bringing in for not only Two Bears, One Cave every week, but also if you look at his tour, can you pull up Tom's tour dates? Tom Segura has a tour that he's on right now called I'm Coming Everywhere, which is obviously very funny. Very little funny double entendre there. He's literally going to every theater and club in existence. And they're all going to sell out, and they're probably all, tickets between $30, $40, $50. That's just the third leg. He's done 3 of those. I mean, look at that. Look at that, man. That's a fucking Scantron sheet worth of shows. It's just January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, January 3rd, 2 on the 4th, 2 on the 5th, 2 on the 7th, 3 on the 3rd, 5 this weekend. I mean, it is on and on and on. That guy is making money hand over fist. It's a little more under the radar. He doesn't have to answer to anybody. And he's one of the funniest guys out there. So he's going to be able to call Jada Pinkett Smith a bald bitch all he wants. And when people try to cancel him for being a white racist comedian, he's like, guess what? I don't fucking care. I've always said there's a huge difference between not giving a fuck and pretending like you're not giving a fuck. Tom is a guy who just genuinely doesn't give a fuck and doesn't have to worry about it. There's also a difference between not giving a fuck and just torpedoing yourself, where you're like, I don't give a fuck. It's like, well, guess what? You just lost your career. You're done. Congratulations for you. You don't give a fuck. Now you have nothing. if you can pull it off, that's actually, to tie it all back in, kind of like Will Smith. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't need to give a fuck because nobody stopped him. And guys like Tom can say, basically whatever they want about whoever they want. Like, we had Judd Apatow on KC Radio this week. Judd's a great guy. Real nice dude. But, like, we talked a little bit about his tweet where he said that Will Smith could have killed Chris Rock. And I brought it up, and you could tell that he was very, like, I don't want to talk about this. And so I left it alone. And to be perfectly honest, if I'm grading me and John on that interview, we get a P for pussies. Because we should have been like, yo, dude, come on. What the fuck were you talking about? He could have killed him. And Judd said something like, well, I just meant, like, this day and age, you never know. Like, crazy things can happen. And we, in a real conversation amongst normal people, we would have been like, the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, he could also get struck by lightning. And maybe an alien could jump out of the crowd and chop his head off, too. There's a million things that could happen. But we live in the real world where slapping someone in the face isn't going to kill somebody. So what the fuck are you talking about?
I feel like that everyone's saying that where it's like, oh, he could have punched him. He could have. It's like, but
he didn't.
Also, it could have been The Rock that did it. That's like just as could have as that. Like,
we could make up a million could have, would have, should haves, and it's like, and because Judd Apatow is, I also like on the one side, my point being like, I wish every time I did an interview, I wish we actually established ourselves as the podcast. If you come on our show, we treat you like you're one of our pals, where we will ask you and roast you and pry about whatever the fuck we want. And you can take it or leave it. Now, we wouldn't have gotten to the level that we've gotten. So, obviously, I believe in playing the game as smart business-wise. But there are also times where it's like, why can I not tell Judd Apatow that tweet was fucking ridiculous? And it's because he's this, Hollywood royalty. And at the end of the day, I would rather not burn a bridge with someone like Judd Apatow, who is, like one of the greats of all time, and rather just have a cordial conversation with him and talk about some interesting things rather than, it's like we got to sit down with Judd Apatow, and for the most part, I talked about like how great his like catalog was and how amazing and influential all his movies are. And I would rather use my time with Judd Apatow talking about that. But it's also like, why can't I also just be like, what the fuck, man? What was that about? But then there are guys like Tom Segura who like genuinely can and will and do say whatever the fuck they want. That's got to be a level of freedom that's just so unreal, where it's just like, not only do I not give a fuck, it doesn't matter that I don't give a fuck. And I can just be like, you crazy bald bitch. If we were to say that, could you imagine the backlash if we said that? I really don't get, Zah, maybe you can shed some light on this for me. The people turning this, like, Kelly Keys got smashed by a bunch of black people on Twitter being like, stay out of this, white woman. And, I mean, I understand that it's two black guys and a black marriage that we're talking about. Yeah. But why is this something that, like, exclusively, we're talking about, like, violence, really?
But that's society nowadays. Yeah. When you can't comment about, if you're not, especially like minorities, if you're like a majority, it's got nothing to do with race whatsoever. Right. I mean, Will Smith went up there and he slapped Jada, Chris Rock. That's got nothing to do with race.
Right.
Once was two black guys, it's crazy. I mean, I don't agree with it, but it's crazy.
I mean, like, if Kelly or I or somebody was saying, like, let me talk about the intricacies of a black marriage because of this. Let me talk about what it means between two black men who are, like, in the same industry when they slap someone in the face. But we didn't. We're just talking about the violence of it. We're talking about the setting. We're talking about the generalities. I don't know why it really turned into a racial thing.
I mean, if people want to go down that angle, the way they reacted there, that's not usually how people would react to black people. I mean, he was allowed to go back and sit down, and he received an award. I mean, Kanye, they didn't even let him in because he said something.
Right. Yeah, that's just so funny that the Oscars wouldn't let Kanye show up because they were worried about he might do something to Trevor Noah. And it's like, well, you should have been worried about that other guy.
Will did, and he went back to sit down. They gave him
got the award. They gave him 10 minutes on the stage to talk about whatever he wants. It's all kind of crazy. By the way, the Grammys, I think, are this Sunday, where Kanye will definitely be. So
that I'm watching.
And now I almost feel like he's like, shit, I got to one up these guys. So we'll see what he comes up with. Let's whip through
real quick. 10 a.m. Central is when the tickets went on sale, so they just went on sale.
Oh, okay.
So code KFC, the link is directly in the description
So
below.
then let me tell you a little something I don't like. And I thought about this, and it's on me for not clarifying. We got an email from our agent saying 10 a.m. local time. And I was like, well, does that mean local to the people buying the tickets or all of us who are here in New York?
Yeah, that's
Fuck
confusing.
when people say local time. Fuck that. Fuck that. Well, I got a head start. Everyone got ready at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So now tickets are available. Stop what you're doing.
It was
Open up a
actually
new
kind of
tab.
cool seeing how many people were like, "Oh shit, I just went. It's Central. It's Central." Like we got a bunch
cool.
of tweets about it. So
All right, good. Let's see if we can sell this shit out like immediately. We're 7 minutes in from the pre-sale. I'm hoping that people all bought them, and let's sell this shit out so we can maybe add a second show. I got to be honest. Boston showed out. They sold out in 4 minutes.
I would love to add a second show. Like
Me-
I'm fucking
yeah,
coming home.
Chicago.
I'm gonna go hard.
We're doing the coming home montage for Nick. We're people have asked to go to Chicago forever. We're doing it. Philly was so disappointing. I thought Philly was going to sell out like instantly. We've still got tickets available for Philly as well. It'll be a good show, but I thought that you guys were going to go harder than that. And don't tell me Thursday, I can't go out. You can go out on a fucking Thursday. Give me a break. Let's get through some of these calls, and then we'll get out of here. Let's go to Jason from Massachusetts is back on. Let's try to give it a second shot. What's up, Jay?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's going on?
All right, so I am a big conspiracy guy.
Oh, boy.
I am 100% on the Will Smith saga being fake.
How could
Right.
you still possibly be there? Tell me why.
All right, these people are actors, right?
Mhm.
Let's not kid ourselves.
Mhm.
They're spoiled,
Mhm.
pampered. They make all this money.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if Chris Rock was in on it because I like him, so. But Will Smith is a psychopath,
Mhm.
okay? And these people are reptiles, okay? They can shed a tear on a dime.
Okay. That's it?
And that's exactly what he did.
Why would he do it? For what?
Why would he do?
What does he gain from it?
Because this is
Everybody thinks he's a
this is
clown
the new-
now. It was like a image ruiner for him.
this is Kanye. This is the new fame. It's not about movies or TV. Like they see what's going on with Rogan. They
Do
see
you
what's
think
going on with Nelk Boys.
you think that Will Smith wants to be like the Nelk? You think that
about
Will Smith wants to be like the Nelk boys?
No, but it's the new fame is about virality.
No, dude.
Not about
Will Smith is one of the most famous people on the planet. He does not need any more fame.
But nobody.
Will
gives a
Smith goes
fuck
viral
about
all the
this
time.
anymore.
Will Smith goes viral on TikTok like all the time.
All right, but everybody's talking about this.
Yeah,
Everybody.
but you're talking about two guys who like
Like,
already made all their money and
Who gives a
already
fuck about
made
COVID.
like
Who
what
gives a fuck about Ukraine?
what does anybody? The only thing you could say is Chris Rock is selling tickets, but that's just what happens when you get involved in a viral event. I don't think you would plan that out accordingly. What does Will Smith
I
gain
don't
from
even
this?
know.
If anything, all people are now talking about again is how Will Smith is a cuck.
He gained an Oscar though.
That he didn't win
I
the
don't know.
Oscar because of that, you idiot. He already had the
Why
Oscar
would they
won.
Why would they still let him get an Oscar after that?
Because it doesn't mean that his acting performance changed. He won an Oscar for
It's
the
just-
acting performance.
If it was real, wouldn't they like escort him out?
I think it's because, you know why? Because he's not a fucking Nelk boy. He's so goddamn famous and powerful that they didn't touch him. He doesn't need any stunts to do this shit. He's already got it made.
Okay, but Will Smith doesn't need it, but the Oscars need it. The Academy.
Oh, so you think the Oscars planned this and told Will Smith to do
yes,
this?
Yes.
And Will Smith agreed to do it because
Yeah, because he's a puppet.
he's a
acting
puppet.
puppets, man.
So now we're switching gears. Now it's that the Academy can force Will Smith to do something. Why? Because are they like blackmailing him or?
Maybe.
Okay, so now we're talking. See, you can't call me up and be like, I'm a
Could be-
conspiracy guy.
could be
This
like,
guy did it to be famous. You can call me up and tell me that the Academy is a shadowy group that somehow can force Will Smith to do this. Because if you ask me, I think that Jada Pinkett is basically blackmailing Will Smith, being like, I know what you're really into. You've done some weird things. You got some secrets you want to hide. I'm going to put them all out there unless you like keep dating me and keep marrying me while I fuck all of our son's friends. If you want to tell me the Academy is a League of Shadows, now we can maybe talk. Your first point is idiotic.
What was my first point, bro? I'm so lost.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. The people who are still on the idea that it's fake, if you want to have some fun and conspiracy theorize with me, let's rock. This is very, very clearly not fake. You dummies. Let's go to, we got one more Will Smith and then a couple randos. So we'll go to Jessica, Jersey girl, talking about Will Smith. What up, Jess?
Hey,
How are you?
so I'm doing all right, doing all right. So much tea, so much time, so little time. I'm sorry. So
Let's go.
where to start? Has anybody seen Chris Rock's docu-series that he narrated? And I'm pretty sure he had a lot to do with producing and putting together, called Good Hair, from like back in the day.
I have not seen that. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay, what is that about?
Look into that shit. It is so educational, so informative. It is all about cultural appropriation of hair and what it should or should not be and look like in society, in relation to African American culture, Black women in particular. And Chris Rock makes so many jokes, but he's also so well informed and so educated on a lot of the.
Dude, Chris Rock is a super stand-up guy. Thank you, Jess. I mean, like Chris Rock has done a documentary like that. The reason why he's hosted the Oscars is because he's professional and put together and would never do like. There's a time and a place. I bet you there's a time where Chris Rock would be like, "Shut up, you fucking alopecia bitch," the same way Tom Segura would. But he knows that the Oscars is not the time. The Oscars are the time to make a little observational joke comparing a movie with a bald girl to a bald girl in the crowd. It's like a fucking 2 out of 10. And yeah, Chris Rock is not like the type to be like, oh, ha, ha, you've got alopecia. And apparently to the point that he has a documentary about like the importance of black women's hair and style and stuff. So get over that. All right, let's get to a couple randos. We got John in New York talking about throwing up. John.
Hey, what's up?
What do you got for me, bro?
Hey, what's up, Kev? Love the new podcast, man.
Thank you, dude.
So I'm at work right now on my job site, and I was just wondering about a couple episodes ago, they were talking about you always growing up as a kid. And I had a story just like that, too. So when I was growing up, my parents would always give me this carrot cake at dessert at, like, family parties. And I was always throwing up. Or, like, randomly, they'd give me, like, some nuts. And they're just like, yeah, this kid just keeps fucking throwing up.
You're allergic?
Like, fucking, yeah.
Yeah.
Turns out I'm exactly allergic.
How old are you?
Like, I'm 23 now, but this
Oh, wow.
I was like 5.
See, that's crazy, though, because I was going to say, when I was a kid, peanut allergies, like, I never heard of them. And I bet my family and other families would just be like, I don't know, here's some fucking peanut butter. And if you blow up and get all itchy or you puke, that's just because you're a weird kid. Now everybody knows about peanut allergies. Now it's like the most important thing. I would imagine a 23-year-old kind of grew up in that world. But I guess early on, your parents were like, here's some cashews, bro, whatever.
Dude, there was one time in high school where my teacher brought in ice cream for the class, like Easter break, and I ate some. And, like, my last period, I had the reaction, had to go to the hospital. Ambulance came, fucking made a big scene out of it. And the funny thing, I was pissed off about missing a baseball game, not going to the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, that's like summing up, life when you, as a child in a nutshell right there, right? You're just worried about Little League Baseball. Let's go to a North Carolina man himself, Austin. What's going on, Austin? Austin.
Hey.
What's good, man?
What's up? Short time stoolie, maybe like 2 years, but
Oh yeah, you're a baby, bro. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, baby, right? One of the big things that brought me in was behind the blog after I started, I really started following the Yak and PMT and then also KSD Radio. Big behind the blog fan. Wanted to know when that was coming back, if it's coming back.
Yep, I get a lot of calls about this. I get a lot of asks about this, and every time I say the same sort of thing, it's definitely coming back. The thing is, I like to wait for when we have a sponsor for it because there's a finite amount of bloggers here that I can do the show on, and I don't want to waste them and do content that is going to do numbers and is going to perform well that we could make good business off of. Because if I could bang these out like one a week, one a month, and we could rip through the whole roster in a year and change. I could do like 14, 15 of these things, and everybody you've talked to everybody, all the major players. But I like to make sure that they're sponsored and we make some money for the team so that we can get raises and promotions and reinvest and do cool shit. And so we had a sponsor with a company that rhymes with filler fight, and they decided to bail on us because we spoke to a sex worker on our show, which I think is not fair. But now we're trying to get a new sponsor in there, and then I'll resume doing them. I'll give it like another month, let's say, and if we don't have anything done by then, I'll at least do a new one for you guys because I do get a lot of calls about that, and I know people do want to see it. So you know what? Next one is in 1 month. If we don't have a sponsor, I'll set it up. It's gonna be Za. Za's next, baby. All right, 2 more calls, and then we'll wrap it up here. We got my man Aaron from Florida. What's up, Aaron?
Oh, what's up, bro?
What we got?
First time calling in. It's pretty
Thanks,
cool.
dude. I appreciate it, man. Call in every week. Let's go.
All right. Well, maybe in a fictitious scenario, most likely, but with lately, you've seen a lot of that celebrity boxing shit in the news.
Yep. I mean, Jake Paul already offered him, right? Jake Paul already said, maybe it was a joke, but
to host?
No, he said, let's get Will Smith and Chris Rock in a ring. And for all I know, it could have just been like a meme or a joke, but also with Jake Paul, you never fucking know because he's obviously always trying to do that shit. So,
I mean, it's a way for Chris Rock to either redeem himself or a way for Will Smith to maybe make everyone shut up finally.
Yeah, let's see. He says, Jake Paul says, I got $15 million for Will Smith and $15 million for Chris Rock ready to go. Now, let me tell you something. Here's the problem. When you are talking to Ben Askren and Nate Robinson, the other dude, the UFC guy, 10 million, 15 million, 1 million for some of these guys is a huge payday. $15 million for Will Smith is like legitimately Willow's allowance. $15 million for Chris Rock is, 10 minutes of voiceover work for Madagascar. So thanks for the offer, Jake Paul. How about I feel like, you know what, Will Smith should tweet back at Jake Paul. Keep my fucking name out of your fucking mouth. Because I don't think anybody on their level is taking that call. But for a certain caliber of person, the celebrity boxing thing is absolutely a big deal.
Will's estimated worth is $350 million right now.
And that, I would imagine, is like low. And then you factor in Jada. I mean, that family is rolling in it.
Yeah,
so
the kids too.
15 mil ain't shit, man.
But, I mean, if he's this upset about everybody talking about him and his family, though, maybe he does this just to get everyone to shut up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there is something.
In a movie.
Yeah, listen.
Why not try to do it for real?
I hear you, and I will say this, Aaron. I probably because I can't fight and I'm a pussy, I think all this macho shit is kind of stupid. I think it's cooler if you are calm, cool, collected, and subtle, and you kill them with humor, and you use your brain, and you're very, suave like that. But from now until the end of time, from the caveman days until we disappear off of this rock floating through the universe, physical force is always going to be the lowest common denominator, where it's like, you can talk, we can be rivals, we can feud, and if you really want to settle it, we can throw hands. And so there is something about the idea of I will beat you up. The problem with Chris Rock and Will Smith is that Will Smith is much bigger than Chris Rock. Chris Rock is a smaller dude, and that's why he kept his cool, and that's why he was able to be professional, because he's not he doesn't just defer to fighting. But that's why it's never going to happen. Now, the 1 Minute Man I put up yesterday, we'll wrap up with our Corey in a minute on the line, but I do want to talk about the 1 Minute Man I put up yesterday that said that in Scientology, they teach you to slap. And this guy on Twitter, his name's Max Burns. He's a writer, like a political analyst, I think. He's written for all these different websites. He is like obsessed with Scientologists, and he kind of did like investigative journalism on them. And he found out that they basically have like not a school course, because it's not official, like sit down and listen to this presentation and we teach you. But basically one of the principles is that they slap when you offend someone or embarrass someone. That's just the way that you're supposed to hash out your differences. They say Tom Cruise doesn't use physical force, but the reason why you're always seeing these clips of him like berating people on movie sets is he uses his voice. That's why he's always screaming at people to be like, I'm bigger than you, I'm more important than you, I'm higher up than you in this world of Scientology. So, I don't know. Will Smith never went like full Scientologist, I don't think. But you also, if once you're in, you never really get out either. It's kind of like the mob. So there is a chance that Will Smith was just kind of using his like Scientology brain, which I'm not, because at the end of the day, you have to use fucking brain in society, and you don't get to just be like, well, my Scientology brain says this, because guess what? Nobody else is fucking Scientologists, you goddamn rich wackos. So I'm not saying that like, oh, it makes sense now. I'm just saying it's interesting to think of it as if he was just like, well, this is what my religion says, so I'm going to go do it. And, in his mind, maybe that's why he was dancing. Maybe that's why he was relaxed and carefree and didn't apologize. And then when he did apologize, it was just a fake written statement. Because he probably was like, this is no big deal. This is what we're supposed to do. Now, I don't know. I can't do my own research. This guy, Max Burns, does seem very legit. I DM'd him, and I was like, is this real, or am I going to like look like an idiot for quoting this? And he said, he threw out a couple names of high-level Scientologists that I don't even know, and he was like, these people have all said that that's part of their curriculum, if you will. So just a bizarre twist to that whole thing, too, that's like maybe this is what he kind of felt he was supposed to do. I mean, imagine like you sit down first day of Scientology, and you're in the classroom, and they've got all these fucking textbooks and presentations, and there's these charts up on the wall being like, if you're like a flow chart, if you are in an altercation, do you slap? Yes. If you don't slap, no. Then someone else slaps you. If you do slap, here's how to handle it. That's the Scientology chart of how to get through your confrontations. We have a chart from Twitter this morning that I want to put up before we get out of here, because it's a good one. It's the excessive drinking chart all across America. So they put this out. It's the excessive drinking by county. Now, if you can't read this, basically everything that is dark blue, the more blue you are, the more drunk you are. And if your state is white, if your county is white, that means you're not drinking at all. So I'd like to draw your attention.
Iowa looks about right.
I would like to draw your attention to a couple things. Iowa's a good one. I'd like to draw your attention to fucking Utah. At first, I was like, what state doesn't have any drinking? And then I was like, oh, that's Utah.
It's literally the whole state.
The whole fuck. Is it legally dry? Like, can you not even get it in Utah? That can't be, right? I'm sure that certain parts of Utah are dry, but it's not like the whole state doesn't have alcohol, right? That would be like goddamn illegal in my mind. There should be like a constitutional law that like you can limit, but you can't like not have alcohol. That's fucking ridiculous. So fuck Utah, man. I'd like to draw your attention to Wisconsin. Wisconsin is borderline black. It's so dark blue. That is like midnight navy. And the tweet I saw said you might think that there's one single county there in Wisconsin that's dry, and that's what that white spot is. And he goes, nope, that's actually a lake. So all of Wisconsin is absolutely shit-faced except for that one spot.
I've spent time in Wisconsin. Again, that is true.
Yeah, they are drunks for sure. And Iowa's right there, right? And that's pretty that's pretty dark as well. What's weird is if you look at Pennsylvania and Ohio, there's like a borderline where it goes from like white to blue. And that must be like sales of alcohol laws again, where it's like you can't sell it in Ohio or some shit, because I can't imagine why a border like that creates such a stark difference of drinking. The Northeast is kind of a mishmash. Everybody's pretty drunk. California has pockets of it. I was surprised that Nevada wasn't like as drunk. You would figure that like there'd be a spot for Vegas. I figured there would be a spot for New Orleans, maybe one of those little blue spots. Those counties are New Orleans there. But what's really crazy is Oklahoma through that stretch of like the South. You telling me that people in the South aren't drunk? You telling me that people in like, what states are those? Like, is that Mississippi and not Atlanta, not Georgia. Like, yeah, the Tennessee, Kentucky up there, down through Mississippi and Alabama. Yeah, Mississippi and Alabama. You're telling me Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Oklahoma are all like not big drinkers? That must mean they just didn't participate in the fucking thing, right? Like, oh, and look at Hawaii. Hawaii's like pretty much dark black too, so everyone's getting shit-faced on the island. But that was strange to me. I feel like people are absolutely getting blasted down there in the South. I wonder, somebody said they must be just drinking moonshine because maybe it's not like officially on the like statistics on the chart. But man, motherfuckers are drunk in Wisconsin.
So apparently 50% of the population in Utah is Mormon, and then drinking is a big no-no. So
yeah, I mean that I knew, but I just wasn't sure if it was like to have the whole thing like stark white.
I don't know. I don't know. The Mormons were like 50% in Utah.
Yeah.
I thought like 5 or something.
No, I know that state is like you go out to Utah, and it's not like, oh, there's little pockets of it. It's like more often than not, if you meet someone in Utah, they're gonna be a weirdo Mormon. That's where Jada and Will should move. Fucking or no, they need to go the reverse. They need to go somewhere where the chicks are doing it. You know, you gotta have brother husbands instead of sister wives.
I'm looking at this. I think everywhere I've ever been is dark.
Is it drunk? Let's see. We got Iowa. We got Wisconsin,
Illinois,
New York,
particularly
Illinois,
Chicago.
Yeah.
Some like, yeah. I don't know if I've visited a dry spot yet. Even Louisville, like Kentucky, is white except for Louisville.
The one spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just weird. Some of the Carolinas on the coast is not drinking, and you would think that Alaska would be black, right? Like, gotta drink your way through there.
What else is there to do up there?
It's eternal night. It's cold. There's nothing to fucking do. I'm surprised everyone's not completely shit-faced, because that's why Wisconsin is. It's cold. It's shitty. We're basically in Canada. Everyone's fat and ugly. We're just eating cheese. Aaron Rodgers keeps losing in the fucking playoffs. Let's just get shit-faced.
This is really just a map of who's ashamed to talk about being a booze bag or not.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I feel like everyone is.
Pretty much. All right, let's wrap things up. You know how we do it. Every episode of the Kevin Clancy Show, we wrap up with the man who is he is the most level-headed, intelligent, clairvoyant, smart man who just has a take that everybody in the world needs to hear. What's up, Corey?
What's up, my friend?
Corey from New York, an absolute legend. Just a couple weeks into this show's life. You know the name. What's going on, dude?
I'm good. How are you? I got a quick question. I was watching your live emergency Kevin Clancy show the other day, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Your biggest fan, as always.
Thank you.
And then this question popped up in my head. What keeps your creative drive going? Like, you do so much content, like with KSC Radio, the Kevin Clancy Show, 1 Minute Man, Friday Night Pints. Like, what keeps that drive going? And is there ever a time where you're just like a mental burnout from creating too much content?
Nick, you should have seen Nick's face when you said that. He was like, mental burnout. Bro, I've been mentally burned out since 2015, okay? I legitimately remember in 2015 being like, I don't think I can do this much longer. And here we are 7 years later, and I'll probably do it for 17 more. Yeah, I almost feel worse for the producers. I do feel bad for, Jack and Zach, Pavs, Jackie, and Nick are in the studios till like, well, not really Zach, fuck you. But the rest of the guys are in there till like 2 a.m. every night. I'm always like, it takes that long to edit this shit? Because as hard as it is, like on a day like today and yesterday, I'm recording from like 10 a.m. through 4 p.m. And that doesn't sound crazy, but when you're trying to interview and you're animated and you're arguing and shit, it's like 6 straight hours of talking is a lot. But then I see what those guys have to go through at night because everyone else here does like one show or a couple shows. And that's a lot of times because they have a super successful franchise and that's all they do. But with us, we do like 10 different things and they're the ones who have to produce all of it. So I do feel bad for them. But
currently, I think we're releasing 9 shows a week.
9 shows a week is fucking nuts. Especially when I think about the comics and the people we talk to who release 1 show a week and they make more money than we do somehow. It's fucking bullshit, goddammit. But I do recognize that because we aren't just naturally gifted and we have this one smash hit, that we do have to try to make up the difference with the amount of shows we do. What keeps me going is I really genuinely, like when the Will Smith thing happened, I was about to go to sleep. You could see it. My eyes were bloodshot. My hair was a mess. I was in pajamas. I get off on getting things up first, being the first to a story and watching the numbers rise. Like when I see millions of views on 1 Minute Man, I'm like, fuck yeah. Because now's the time to, like, when I was doing no views and I was grinding, that's when it was really hard. Because I was like, what am I doing this for? Now when I put some shit out and we sell out right away or the views are through the roof or we're making money, that feels good. So now I like to do it because I get the results I want. Because you know why, Corey? Because tell the people why. Tell the people what I am.
Because you are the most underrated genius in America, actually in the world, besides you and me.
Hey, and that's it. That's the smartest man in America besides myself. Thanks for wrapping it up as always, Corey. Shout out to everyone behind the glass. Shout out to everyone for listening and watching. We'll be back next week. Maybe one day, maybe for a couple days. Who knows? We'll see you next time, you mutts.